Version control is an important aspect of software development, but also of game development. And you may have heard about it. Version control is important for your project and you should use it. But what is version control and why should you be using it in your projects? So let's go into today's video. Now, first things first, what is version control? Well, version control is tracking and management of any changes that are made to the source code of any type of software that you or your team are developing. Now, the tracking of these changes is done with a version control system or VCS. The VCS tracks any change done to the code and stores all the information in a database. This includes the information of the developer that did the changes, the data, and time for identifying the version. So now let's go to talk about the benefits of version control. First, you have a complete history of all the changes done to the project. It is really useful when you need to remember when a specific change was made and makes the bug fixing process a bit more easy. Second, it makes collaboration a lot more easy. Version control allows you the creation of branches, and these branches are like copies of what you're developing, so other developers can work on the features at the same time in their own branches and later merge them into the main branch. Or you can have different versions of the game, one for production, another one for work in progress. Third, backups are more easy. If you have the repository in a server, you can use it as a backup. Now, personally, I have used GitLab for some personal projects and it has saved my work in multiple occasions. One of them was a corrupted OS due to some RAM issues, and at that time I didn't have any other backup of the project, only the one that I have on GitLab. So after fixing the issues with the RAM and reinstalling Windows, I simply grabbed the latest version of the project and got back to work. I lost all of the work of that day, but it could have been much worse. I could have lost months of work or even the entire project. Fourth, you can experiment with no risk. You can introduce new features to the game or you can try new tools. And if they don't work, you can delete the branch and go back to the main one. For example, if you want to update the project to a newer version of the engine, but that new version has some bugs and it is not suitable for development, you can simply roll back to the last version of the project and revert the engine update. So now let's go with game development. Version control is used for any type of software. There are version control systems that were specifically created for games, but they can be used for any other project. And some VCAs can be used for game development, but they have issues with it. So let's have a look into some of them. First we have Git. It has been around since 2005, it was created by Linus Torvalds. It is an open source distributed version control system, meaning that all developers have a full copy of the project repository on their PCs, alongside with a repository in a server. Now, Git is widely used in the open source community. GitHub and GitLab are providers that uses Git. Second, we have Subversion or SVN. It was released in the early 2000s. It is an open source centralized control system, meaning that the project repository is stored in a centralized location. It uses a file-based model and all files have a revision number. Similar to Git, SVN is widely used in the open source community. Third, we have Plastic. Now, Plastic was acquired by Unity in 2020 and it can handle large files and binary files. It can be used for artists and programmers alike, and it has a native integration with the Unity editor, although it can be used with any other engine. Similar to Git, Plastic is also a distributed control system. Last but not least, there is Perforce. Now, Perforce is a top choice in the game development industry for version control. It is used by almost every AAA developer. It can handle large files, binary files, a high number of concurrent users, and it is scalable. Some VCS like Plastic or Perforce were specifically created for large projects or for game development. They can handle a large number of users, large files, binary files like 3D models, textures, or images. Files that are common in game development. That doesn't mean that other tools cannot be used in game development. Git and SVN can be used for game development. There are some developers that use them, but they can have some issues with the handling of large files and binary files. For example, Git doesn't like binary files. There are workarounds for those issues, like using GitLFS, but it is better not to have those issues. So now you know what is version control, why it's important, and some tools to implement it. I highly suggest using version control. It doesn't matter if you're working on your own, and if you are working with a team, the more reasons you have to implement it. Also, I didn't want to cover the difference of the VCS that I mentioned because they would make the video too long, so go and do your research for the VCS that adapt to your needs. Some of them have a cost and require your own servers like Perforce, and others are completely free and can be self-hosted like Git or SVN. I will leave some links in the description if you want to know more about version control for game development. Anyway, I hope this video was useful and thanks for watching.